Overcrowded pool parties and beaches sparking some outrage on social media this weekend. In Missouri, health officials are ripping local leaders for allowing those massive crowds like these at the Lake of the Ozarks. One Missouri mayor says people not taking precautions will have to police themselves.
This is not the kind of image that I think we want to be projecting, at least from a pandemic guideline enforcement standpoint. But when I say again, enforcement, that's a two-edged sword. It is the responsibility, I believe, of our guests who are down here, who come down here.
Let's bring in our Fox News contributor, Dr. Mark Siegel, professor of medicine at NYU Langone. Doctor, good morning.
Morning, Ed. How are you?
Fantastic. What that mayor is saying is something I've heard you say before, is that we essentially have to treat adults like adults. But when you see some of these pictures when adults are not behaving well, essentially, and not social distancing, how concerned are you about places like the Ozarks and others where we've seen this play out?
I'm very disturbed about this, Ed. Those pictures from over the weekend in Missouri, Lake of the Ozarks is driving distance from St. Louis and Kansas City. And then you had Florida, several different areas of Florida. Tampa had a parking lot to be closed because there were so many people milling around. The east coast of Florida, Galveston, Texas. All three of the states I mentioned have flattened the curve. But if you see this kind of cavorting going on, there's a lot of asymptomatic spread of COVID-19. We don't exactly know how it spreads, but close contact is definitely going to spread it. Now, Dr. Deborah Birx of the task force said, if you're going to be close together, at least wear a mask. I would, with all due respect, tend to disagree with that slightly, because I don't think the mask does nearly as much as the social distancing does. And it's several feet that a cough or a sneeze can travel here. And we're going to end up having a problem as we reopen if people are congregating like this. I'm deeply disturbed about this. Missouri is saying, some of the officials are saying, Ed, maybe these people should go into quarantine after this kind of behavior. Yeah. And I'm not against that. We have to do something.
And just as the summer is starting, this is sort of the unofficial start of summer, of course, Memorial Day weekend, people are going to have to listen to good advice from you, no doubt about it. I want to get to something else that's more optimistic, which is we're all waiting on a vaccine. Now we have this new company, Novavax. They have a trial. There's some positive news. It's part of the reason why the Dow is popping this morning. Phase 1 begins in Australia with 130 participants between the ages of 18 to 59. Trial will test 2 dosages, both with and without a vaccine. First results expected in July. If successful, phase 2 would include U.S. and other countries. Walk us through where you see some good things here and where you may have concerns.
I'm actually very, very excited about this. This is the 10th candidate that's going to be entering clinical trials. And here's what's interesting. And Dr. Fauci called this shots on goal, right? They're all different, Ed. This particular vaccine is using insects yet to grow the proteins that are like the virus to provoke your immune system. We've talked about Moderna and the Pfizer vaccines using genetic technology that's never been used in a vaccine before to stud your cells with those proteins that cause the immune response. The one out of Oxford University uses a little older technology. The newer ones may actually provoke more of a robust response. But one thing's for sure, with all of these different vaccine candidates proceeding so rapidly into clinical trials, I am optimistic with the manufacturing being set up to keep pace with this, to keep pace with the science, that we may end up with a vaccine by the end of this year or early next year. It's really, really looking good right now. Never been done this way.
All right, we're going to be watching it very closely. Dr. Siegel, appreciate your advice as always.